Hello, it's Denise from Travel Brilliant talking to you today about Maui. So if you guys follow along with us on social media, you know that I was just recently invited by ASTA, the American Society of Travel Advisors, to visit Maui. And I want to tell you what an amazing experience it was to visit this island and this community. So, for complete transparency, this was something that was offered to me by the Kaanapali Hotel Association so that we could come out and experience Maui, experience the community, and talk to the locals in hopes to increase travel to the island. And I know so many people are concerned about traveling to Maui and wondering how they've been able to recover since the fires in Lahaina. So this was a trip that was supported by the businesses in Maui for us to come and experience. I will say without hesitation that I talked to so many people in Maui that told me that they are excited for tourists to come back. These are both obviously business owners and local people who work at these hotels, resorts, and restaurants, and many native Hawaiians. So we were able to have really deep and meaningful conversations with all of the stakeholders involved. And I really do feel very confident that I can offer Maui as a destination that is going to be very welcoming to my travelers. So let's do a recap of the experience in Maui. So we stayed at 3 different properties, and I want to highlight the first property, which was the Westin, Kaanapali. And I love Westin properties. If you've ever stayed at a Westin, you know that they have a very sort of wellness aesthetic. So that is really kind of their branding. It's about wellness. It's about good food and activities and sort of this whole idea of participating in things like bike riding. Many of the resorts have bikes for you to borrow, yoga, and other activities that are sort of focused on your health and well-being. I love the spa aesthetic. I think this Westin is one of my favorites. The lobby is absolutely stunning when you arrive, and it has so much to offer. Now, it is a small footprint property, and I actually really love that. We stayed at some much larger properties, and if you have a family, it can be hard to get around to everything on really large properties. So this is a small footprint, and the space is so well utilized. The hotel's sort of horseshoe shaped. You come into this grand lobby, and then you move into this sort of garden area with waterfalls and walkways, and you don't actually see the pool, which is a really clever sort of design device, right? So that you're not stumbling into the pool, but as you walk around, you'll find the pool area, and there's different levels. So there is a lower level that has a kid's pool with water slides, an upper level that has an adult's pool. The hot tub that's with the adult pool is really, really cool. It's actually a sand bottom. And then there's cabanas and the beachfront. And so it was a really beautiful property, and the beachfront was very pretty. And what I also loved about this is that there is access to a lounge. If you are staying in one of the specific towers, you do get lounge access. And that was really nice because there's breakfast and snacks and things like that in there that are included in your stay when you're in those suites and rooms that are in that specific tower. The restaurant on site was very good. There's also a Starbucks location and many activities for you to do. They were doing lei making with the kids and some other things. There was I think like a bracelet thing. There was a couple different things that were sort of traditional or native Hawaiian sort of craft works that you could participate in. And I just loved this property. I loved the aesthetic of the property. The room was gorgeous. The bedding, if you stayed at a Westin, you know they have really fantastic bedding. And so I can't say enough great things. And its location was right next to Whalers Village, which has shopping and more restaurants. So it was really conveniently located to be able to walk to do things. So absolutely love the Westin. The next property we stayed at was the Hyatt Regency Kaanapali. And this was a bigger footprint, not as large as the final resort that we stayed at. But this was a really cool resort in that they also had the luau there that we attended. And it was a fantastic luau. The food, the drink, and the performances were really spectacular. There are some really cool things about this resort that I wasn't expecting. They have like an animal care team. One of the things that they have on site, they have an aviary, but they also have penguins. They have those small South African penguins that you would find at Boulder Beach. And those penguins actually do some enrichment stuff, like make art for the guests, but they are very cute. There's also several parrots around the lobby, and we got to meet with one of the animal care team, and they said that all the parrots decide if they want to come out that day. They know the routines, so they come into the aviary, and if any of them kind of step up, they get to come out and hang out in the lobby with guests during the day. Some of them are quite talkative. They also have this beautiful sort of Japanese garden with swans and other birds in there that is really, really cool. So there was a lot to kind of walk around in this resort and experience. Again, not very far from Whalers Village, so that was something that you could walk to. The beach was quite small at this resort, but the pool area was very large. So it depends on kind of if you're a beach or pool person where you'd rather spend your time. Now you could certainly walk down not very far to the beach next door, which was the other hotel that we were staying at. And because all of the beaches are public in Hawaii, so you don't have to stay on your hotel property, you can wander down and do the beach that way. Rooms, again, were very, very nice. They came with these stunning bathrobes that we ended up getting gifted because I have a big mouth that was talking about how much I love them and asked if you could buy them. And we did end up getting gifted these beautiful Japanese style bathrobes. But one of the restaurants on site, Japango, is a standout. It was such a good meal. It was an Asian fusion meal with sushi and, obviously different Asian influences as well as Hawaiian and Polynesian. So that was an amazing meal. And Japango is a destination restaurant that people come to specifically to eat at, and it's at this hotel. So that was really lovely. So again, a different experience from the Westin, but also a really good experience. And then our final hotel that we stayed at was the Sheraton. And the Sheraton is a tremendous property. It's also a historical property. It was one of the first hotels in Kaanapali. It's right there at that cliff's edge where they do the diving off of the cliff. Prettiest beach though on the entire strip that we stayed in. The beach there was my favorite. Also an expansive pool area, but this is a huge footprint property. This is very large. So just keep that in mind. That offers a lot of cool extras. They've got a beautiful spa that overlooks the ocean, so you can have a massage in these massage huts that actually overlook the ocean. Lots of pool space, not technically a lazy river because there was no flow to it, but a really cool sort of winding river pool, some really fun slides and hot tubs, a great restaurant there as well. And actually a really beautiful space if you were to have a wedding. And this resort also had its own luau. We did not experience the luau at this resort, but they also have a luau there. And again, close to Whalers Village that you could walk to. And I think that's sort of the selling point for many of the hotels in the Kaanapali area is that there's walkable. And there's also a trolley that goes up and down the strip that you could take as well to get to the Whalers Village. So the Sheraton, again, was a beautiful property, a great property for like a wedding or a conference because it has so much space. So across the board, all three properties that we toured were really good. I would recommend any of them to a client. Each of them has its own unique flair that would set them apart, in my opinion. We did not stay at the Outrigger, but I will give a little shout out to the Outrigger in Kaanapali. We did get to tour the property, and again, a beautiful property, very small and very sort of traditionally Hawaiian. It hasn't gone through a massive like branding change, so you're still going to get sort of that classic Hawaiian beach resort feel. And the one thing that really stands out at an Outrigger is their cultural programming. So they have, when you arrive, you get a kukui nut lei, and each visit that you come back to, you get to change one of those nuts out for a different color so that represents every time that you come back home. There's just the the experiences, they actually have their own education center that's run by Native Hawaiians that offer lots of classes in different crafts and art forms, which I think is really interesting. And again, a really family-friendly forward resort. So all of the resorts, again, that we saw, I would absolutely recommend. Each one has its own uniqueness that would indicate the right client that would fit that sort of niche. We also got to do a catamaran cruise, which was a dolphin spotting cruise, and we did spot spinner dolphins, which was fantastic. It was a really great experience. We were outside of whale watching season, but from I think February to May, if I recall correctly, there are whales all along the beaches. You don't actually even have to go on a cruise to spot whales. They are everywhere. We got to snorkel and we saw sea turtles and lots of fish. We also did, like I say, spoke to local Hawaiians and Native Hawaiians and I asked those hard questions like, do you want tourists to come? Is it appropriate? And many of them, actually all of them, said, yes, we want to share our culture and our island with you. Now, I will say, there is some backlash about tourism in general in Hawaii, and I think part of that stems from the ignorance of us as mainlanders. We are going into a state, right? It is a U.S. state, but it is very different. It has a deep culture that is very distinct and different from the culture that we have here in the United States on the mainland. It was a beautiful, healthy, thriving kingdom until the U.S. came in and established statehood. And none of those things have been eliminated, but they have been silenced for a long time. And the Native Hawaiians are doing their best to teach these new generations about the culture that may have been lost. So I think it's important that when we travel there, especially as Americans, we don't think we're just going to any other state in the Union. We really recognize that this is a very unique place, and that we need to, one, be respectful of that Native culture, and two, respectful of the people. One of the biggest things is that tourists come in, they destroy the beaches, they don't follow signs, they go swimming when they're not supposed to, they do things that are destructive and insulting. And I think it's really, really important for me as a travel advisor to advise my clients about respecting cultures, but I think it's also incumbent upon travelers to make that effort to learn about the uniqueness and the best ways to respect a place and destination and its people when we're traveling to it. So that is my recap of my trip to Maui with ASTA. If you guys have any questions about Maui, please drop them in the comments or send me a direct message, and I will see you real soon.